Welcome to Triggered AF, the podcast. It's your girl, Dani and Alechia. And we are back with another awesome episode. I'm so excited for this episode. We've been talking about this episode since season 1. So I'm happy that I feel like we found the most perfect person to do this episode with. It's a little bit of a touchy subject, so I'm even more excited so that... just so that we can have these provocative conversations and continue to push the conversations forward. So today we have celebrity hairstylist, owner of Yara Luxe hair perfume, the best hair perfume on the planet. I'm obsessed with it. I literally just keep buying it and handing it to my friends. Alechia, you're on the next batch of my purchases.
Hey, yeah.
Because I'm like, can I have 5 of them? And I just give them away because I think everyone should have it. It's delicious. She's also a very good friend of mine, my hairstylist. So if you like my hair, that's who does it. So please welcome Nycole Jones. Yay!
Yeah.
How
are you?
How are you, ladies?
We're good. Thank you so much for joining us and being brave enough to have this conversation. I was like, who better to have a hair conversation about than with a hairstylist? That's what we need. We need a hairstylist.
And trust me, I hear it all in my chairs.
Listen, well, we're going to tap into some of that, some of what you're hearing, what you're feeling, just some statistics, because as Dani says, I love a good statistic. Nothing like being smart and know how to read. It really is a beautiful thing.
Come on through education.
Listen, in all forms, education in all forms. But no, so I'm like I said, Dani and I have been discussing this topic literally since season 1, and here we are now, finally, at the end of season 2, actually, or nearing the end. Thank you. And we're talking about a subject that, especially in the Black community, that from the time we were children, if you didn't have what was deemed as good hair, you were considered a nuisance. You were a bother. It was, I got to go do this baby hair. Mm-hmm. It was, there were all types of spoken and unspoken feelings, rules, and just things that you had to overcome around your hair. And for something that you literally cannot control how it grows out of your head, having the conversation around, hair and how we can not only heal our relationship with it, but how we can also do so for the next generation. What are we teaching them? What are we telling them about their hair that might be our own shit that we're still working through,
That's what, honestly, it boils down to. It starts, and I always say everything has a foundation. Mm-hmm. How you speak to your kids, how you feel about yourself, how you're projecting, how you look, you're the foundation. So if your core is not right, your spirit, man, honestly, it's just going to be a ball of confusion. You can't teach somebody without having to heal your own self.
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. And when we call this episode Good Hair, I think Chris Rock had done a documentary
for Netflix.
Around good hair and the term. And it's always, since I've been more educated with what that term is all about and stopped using that term in that way. For me, good hair is healthy hair. For you, Nycole, what do you think is wrong with the term good hair within the Black community?
Honestly, I do feel like it goes back to what we were saying. It stems from your foundation, your parents, and not only your parents. Kids go to school, they hear stuff. But honestly, what I always have told my clients is you have to speak life over your child. You have to say your hair is beautiful. You have to tell them about why is their hair wavy? Why is their hair curly? This is where you come from. Sometimes what people consider to being good hair, it could have came from a great grandmother. Mm-hmm. It could have came from a father. It could have came from anywhere. But if they're just projecting on, oh, you know what? your hair doesn't look like mine. We need to do something else to it. Guess what?
Yeah.
That starts to program these children. And then next thing we know, the child is 20, 25, trying to change their hair because they're trying to what they feel like fit into society on the billboards, looking like the celebrities and feeling not themselves because they don't know who they are. So they keep trying to wear the wigs, the weaves, and everything. Listen, I'm all for all of that. But the core thing, listen.
I'm for it too, child.
Are you doing it because you're trying to feel like I am not good enough? Or are you doing it because you're just slaying the people, honey?
You listen. And that's, I think, what it boils down to be very honest, is what's the energy behind it?
Yeah.
Like, it's totally different. If a person gives you, let's just say $1,000, right? If a person gives you $1,000 and they give it to you out of love or out of, hey, I just want to gift you with this, or, hey, I know you're in need of this, I just want to help you out with something. You receive it much more differently than you do from a person who is like, with your broke ass, here go this here, because I know you needed it. It's like, you know what? I'm good. I need it, but I won't take it from you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely think the intention is super important. And the reason why you're doing it, are you wearing it because you just like it and you just want to feel good about yourself? Or are you trying to seek validation from people that you don't know?
People that have literally come into my salon. You know, it's one thing working with the celebrities because we have a goal, we have a look. If I'm doing a campaign photo shoot for a brand, we have an agenda. We have we need to do vintage, all of this. But if I have a guest in my chair, now that's a whole different story. I want to know why. There's a root reason to why. Why do you not want your hair naturally curly? Why do you want to blow out your hair? So I like to say, listen, y'all, we're going to get down to the roots of it. And they're looking at me like, why can't you just do what I do? Because if you walk out of my salon and you just feeling like, oh, I look like this picture, but I don't feel like I really look like that person. I could have stayed your hair exactly the same, but because you are programmed, my hair is not good enough. Now, guess what? You're going to keep searching and looking for another hairstyle to do until you feel like, you know what? My hair needs to be more bone straight because Jimmy loved Miranda. I don't know. We're going.
Jimmy and Miranda. I'm with you.
No, this is real. This is true.
But because that's what ends up in some women's minds, or the husband has done cheated on somebody else and their hair looked like waves. They had the extensions. So guess what? Mr. Friend could have had beautiful, curly, natural hair that they had truly embraced. But because the husband done cheated and gone out and went into another race, now guess what? Now 10, 20 years, they're searching what was wrong with my hair? What was wrong with me?
Yeah, what was wrong with me?
Question,
Yes, and that's the biggest thing, especially for our community. And which is why I also want to ask you, like, what do you think is wrong, or do you think anything is wrong with the term good hair within the Black community? Because the issue is you are constantly trying to change and adjust and to fit into this mold that is not you. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be and. Her hair is beautiful and yours is too. I remember when my daughter, I had her in a private school up in New York. And the private school was predominantly Caucasian and Asian. I think there were like 20 Black kids in the whole school, and there were like 400 kids. And in her class, her entire, I think, second grade class, there were like 4 Black kids. Okay. And so there was a girl, this girl literally was, I don't like to call children demons, but, because they can't always help it. Because, they're still trying to learn and regulate and figure themselves out. But she was a challenge. She was a challenge. And so she told my daughter one day, she's like, how come your hair doesn't look like mine? Your hair is nappy. First of all, my good sis, who taught you to wear a nappy? Because that is in none of your second grade reading materials. Yeah. It's not in the first. It's not in the third. Who taught you the word? And so my daughter, she was like, well, I don't like my hair like this. Can we change it? Can we make it straight? Can we do all these things? And my daughter is a little more, she's darker skinned. And it's funny because I used to have a colorism issue where I thought, white was right and light was what it was supposed to be. And so when I was pregnant, I would tell myself, I need to learn how to love every part of the Black experience. Mm-hmm. I want a dark skinned baby. It's what I want. I want, a kid who I get to teach how to love every part of themselves because I was never taught how to do so in whatever complexion or color they come out. Mm-hmm. And so when we talk about that term good hair, what is it for you? Now, I'm not going to lie. I did go ahead and let her get her hair straightened because she was having so many issues with not liking her hair texture. But what I did back when I subscribed to the whole Black Girl Magic thing is I told her, I'm like, your hair is magical. And the reason I'm going to straighten it is so that you get to see how magical it is that you can go from straight to curly with some water, with a little squirt of water.
Because and honestly, that's what makes it so magical. And I'm so happy that you did, because you don't know how many people I have had in my church that said, oh, I wish I had that good hair. And I'm like, we don't speak like that in my salon. I actually kick people out. I'm not going to lie. I have no
kick them out, sis.
I'm a true Scorpio. I'm like, but I'm also about positive energy, positive words. You have to speak. And I am a firm believer we birth ourselves. So you literally birth yourself. And even though that you may have not felt like you could have been like, oh, I'm just going to teach her how I was taught. You decided to teach a different way. But in the way that you're teaching, which is really great and I love, is you said, I'm going to teach her how I would want to. So listen, there's a big thing about the good hair narrative. I don't personally like it because, once again, your foundation of your mind. You're not seeing yourself as beautiful as a goddess, as, you know what, my hair can go from curly to straight to weave to whatever you desire.
Whatever.
But you're not going to continue to see it. So when I tell my clients, hey, do not use that word good hair. Your hair is beautiful. Because everything that comes from you is beautiful. Doesn't matter if your hair is really tight, curly. And I've always coined it, and I've been a hairstylist for over 18, 19 years. I'm a multi-textural hairstylist. Meaning, I do not identify as like the culture. Oh, I am a Black hairstylist. No, hair comes in textures, not nationality.
Yes.
The texture of where you're at. And sometimes your texture can change throughout your life. But if you can't appreciate what you have now, you're not going to appreciate if you do change it up. If you go from straight to curly, you're not going to appreciate it because you're just wanting it. No. That whole good hair thing, I'm like, snip it.
Snip it, cut it out.
We don't say that. Because
it's a cancer, cut it out.
Yes, we have to stop. And especially telling these babies. I know I've had clients that come in with I had this one woman come in with her baby and was like, oh my gosh, I wish she had like Halle Berry hair. How come her hair can't? And the child was biracial. And I kicked the mama out. And
honestly, you gotta go, sis.
So much in me not to cry, because Dani would tell you I am a quick crier. Yeah, I am sensitive.
Listen, you an artist and you sensitive about your shit. It's okay.
But the mom was like picking up the baby's hair, was like, how come her hair can't be like Halle Berry? I want her hair to like come down and it goes like this. And this little 8-year-old had already had so many issues of acceptance of herself. Yeah. And I told the mom, I said, can you please go outside for a moment until I finish her hair? I styled the little 8-year-old's hair, nice curly. That little child, okay, I'm tearing up. That little child walked out embracing her curls.
Because that's what it should be. That's how it should be. You teach them to internalize self-hatred. Yes. You teach them to hate the hair that grows out of their head.
Because again, the next thing you know, they're hating the way that their weight,
their look,
all because the hair is not good enough. Now, listen, now if you just rolled out of bed and you need to put a brush to it, yes, you need
That's different.
Like that. That's totally different. But you
Yeah.
have to accept where you're at. If you're not accepting of your curls, your straight hair, your belt, you're not accepting, guess what? You're never going to accept the new you. How are you going to make, so if a client comes in, or I've had celebrities come and say, oh, I need to look like this celebrity because they're hot right now. Can you make me blonde?
Wow.
No.
Now, that's always a shocker for me because I'm getting paid, and the manager or the agency may be like, listen, we do need this look. But trust me, I'm on the slide. I'm like, you know what? You're beautiful. That's why I absolutely love Viola Davis. She stood up. She was like, I have to show my daughter this
is me.
And you realize Viola did not have the same texture as her daughter. But she wanted to teach her daughter, still love your. I had so much respect for that woman. I'm like,
absolutely. Because internalized hate is internalized hate, no matter what you look like. And honestly, in my experience, some of the most aesthetically pleasing, as people like to say, not my term, but just the politically correct term, superstar models have some of the lowest self-esteems I have ever met. And everybody literally all day long is telling them how pretty their face is. It's like, okay, yeah, you won, the face lottery, but it is an internal thing to where they feel like, but I'm not enough, but I'm not pretty. I don't look like this. I don't look like that. And it starts, at least for many, little Black girls, with the term, oh my God, I wish you had good hair, while your mom is trying to comb it out. With my little cousin the other day, now her hair is it takes a little more effort and more work to get it. And she's extremely tenderhead. Like you're gonna have to tell me there got to be a term for a medical condition. But she's extremely tenderheaded. And so it took me 3 days to comb out her hair because I wasn't willing to let her just scream and holler through the experience, because I didn't want her to despise getting her hair done. But instead of telling her throughout, and it was a challenge, but instead of telling her throughout the process that, dang, your hair sucks, or dang, this is it, because again, it teaches them internalized hate. It was, you have a special type of hair. Kind of like, and if maybe we teach our girls, just like a Bentley, you don't take care of a Bentley the same way you do a Toyota.
Sure don't.
Right.
It costs a little more to get your oil changes.
Right.
If you run into some issues, the parts are a little more expensive.
True.
I know that firsthand.
I mean, it costs a little more to maintain.
Right.
You got to do a little more. So maybe if we teach them that, your hair is like a luxury vehicle, or your hair, because it can do so many things, it requires you to pay and take, more care or pay more attention to it, then it reframes their mind, not around what I have is something that's a bother, but what I have is something that I have to treasure and do more with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's just about redefining good hair is healthy hair. Regardless of the texture, regardless of the length, as long as your hair is healthy and it's flourishing and it's the way that makes you feel the best about yourself, then that for me is what I determine and define.
Which is totally
defined as good hair. Healthy hair is good hair.
That's why I started doing relaxer. I would probably say about 15 years ago, 15 years ago. And it hit my business really hard because everyone was getting the short and laid to the slide. And I was like, it hit me one day. I would rather teach people how to take care of their hair, because as hairstylists, especially then, we were just doing what I guess told us to do, but we wasn't teaching people how to love their hair. And that's where I was just like, I'm just going to stop doing relaxers and I'm going to teach people how to take care of their hair. Either they're going to come to me or they're going to do. So even during the whole pandemic, I felt bad for everybody because they were like, Nycole, what do I do? I said, you got to speak life, because when they leave, they're like, how come I do this to my hair and but it doesn't have the same results. I said, love. You got to your hair love. Don't be like, oh my gosh, my hair is so nappy. Oh, it's so fresh. No, say, you know what? Hair, I love you. You have beautiful hair. Like you have that life. Y'all gonna hear that for the whole time. That's literally the only difference that I do behind the chair is, girl, your hair is beautiful. Yes, we're gonna have to take care of these ends, but guess what? Your hair is so beautiful. Your hair's gonna start getting strong. Yes, right now it's a little challenge, but guess what?
Yeah.
We got some secret, conditioner. You gotta speak love.
You got some hydration.
Yeah.
Okay, a little hydration. You just need a little hydration.
Moisturized. The hair needs to be moisturized. Everything.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
And you have to have healthy hair. That's honestly, if we can change that in the next few years of healthy hair, not good hair, I think honestly, that's going to change the narrative of, okay, you know what? Are we taking care of our bodies? Are we taking our vitamins, juice? That's a whole different subject. And especially with us in the African American community is, okay, we are not as good because especially if the person has to go into the work field and they've been natural for a very long time, a lot of them don't feel as confident going into an interview with their natural hair. So,
well, yeah, I mean, there's been a history of, I think it was is it in New York or California where they just now removed any kind of discrimination against hair in the workplace?
Yeah.
It's
finally illegal.
2021. How is that a new thing?
Yes.
That you're just now able to wear your dreadlocks or wear your hair natural. And the fact that natural hair has always been seen as unprofessional. Braids are unprofessional. Dreads are unprofessional. It's like, who decides that stuff? It's weird because I wanted to go back, Alechia, to what you were talking about with colorism. And I feel like there's so much conversation around colorism and how divisive colorism can be within the Black community. And for anyone that doesn't understand what colorism is, it's pretty much like light skinned versus dark skinned, people that have fairer skin compared to people with darker skin. There tends to be a lot of conversation around that, but not really around how divisive hair has been within colorism, right? That's like that's like the child of colorism.
It is. See it going hand to hand.
Right.
It's the child.
I don't know if we can call it hairism. I don't know what we would call it officially, but there is a lot of discrimination within the Black community when it comes to the different textures of hair and how even back in the day, there wasn't just the brown paper bag test as far as your skin complexion. There was also how well did your hair straighten so you could pass as white. Like it was more than just your skin complexion. It was also about how your hair looked and how white passing your hair was as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that since we always talk about colorism. I wanted to kind of get your view on how has hair been used to be divisive just as much as skin.
It really is. And that's where, the relaxers, came in because they wanted to pass. They wanted to have that, oh my gosh, that same accolades of, I saw Dorothy, she was able to pass. She was able to go into that building, to that restaurant. So because listen, the hair grease wasn't cutting it. And when they came out with the relaxers, it was to soften. It was to soften the hair, but they took it to a whole nother level and left it on longer. And they seem like, the hair can be straighter.
Completely.
A lot of people don't know that. Relaxers.
I didn't.
Yeah. Relaxers was not meant to be left on as long as it is to make the hair straight. It was to soften the curl. So you can
make it easier to manage.
Make it easier to manage. And someone left it on a nice little good deal or not. And they realized the hair was what they felt like was silky. It passed to do other stuff, especially way back when. So guess what? Now here, people were able to do roller sets like this. They were able to smooth out the edges. They were able to do so much. And they felt like, you know what?
This is it.
But now I feel like it started to now stream from, you know what, my hair's definitely not good enough. Oh, you know, now I need to have lighter makeup. Now, especially when the whole bleaching of the skin, I just knew that was coming. I'm sorry, we're going to tap on it. I knew that was going to eventually be coming because now people wanted to be more blonde. People wanted to have longer extensions. People did not really embrace their beauty because guess what? We have media, we have people talking, you are not good enough.
Yeah. And that's the proverbial message that you are not good enough.
And we have billboards, we have TV, we have people in our house. So guess what? Now we're starting to become programmed in our mind. We are not good enough.
Yeah. And so it's not even just Black women. I mean, that's like the universal message to everyone. That's how advertisers make their money, is that's how you keep us, is wanting and feeling like that.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because, like I said, multi-textural hairstylist. I have every nationality in my chair. Listen, my Caucasian persuasion women feel the same way as my African American, and my African American feels the same way as my Asians. No one's ever happy with their hair.
Interesting. Yeah. I was going to ask something like that. Like, what do you feel like are the differences between women with kinkier texture hair versus every other type of hair? You're saying that you feel like, wow, see, that's why you have to have conversations, because you don't know. Because I'm thinking like, dang, white girls got it so easy. Their hair's straight. They don't got to worry about this Florida humidity, honey.
They're getting waves. They're getting perms so they can have body, because guess what? They just saw somebody else of texture. They're able to keep the volume in their hair. Their hair is not as flat. So guess what? They do. They have extensions just like African Americans. They have body waves solution just like African Americans, because they don't feel like their hair is good enough.
Wow. See, and you would never really think that, because, you know, when you're going through something, you always think you're the only one going through it.
You're the only one.
Yeah.
You're the only one experiencing it. So it takes you to like this place of like you against everybody else. And I think that's what has happened a lot, where it's like I hear conversations around whenever like a Kardashian has braids in their hair, right? And I'll see in the comment section like, oh, they're trying to be Black. They're trying to be Black. And then somebody in the comment section will point out a Black girl with blonde hair and be like, well, isn't she trying to be white? You know, like, isn't she like, why does she have blonde hair? Black people don't have blonde hair, which is not true.
It's not true.
Not true at all.
But it brings back to that conversation of just all of us feeling like that hair envy between each other and wanting your hair to look like something else. I didn't put it together that way, but it's like, that's true.
And I won't say no one, but a lot of people are not happy with their own hair. Trust me, when I went blonde, 7 years ago, everyone was like, what is your race? Are you mixed? I'm like, I'm Black. I'm Black. And honestly, I went from literally jet black to platinum, and it was a confusion. Now, at the time, I was in a salon that was predominantly Caucasian. So everyone's like, oh, you're trying to mix in. I was like, no, I'm ready to have a different style. Now, what was really hard for me was, at the time, I was doing a lot of stuff for QVC and HSN. They literally have a book of how you should look.
To come on to the show?
To come on. They have, I'm going to spill the tea. Yes. You have to have a certain look. So my blonde that I was wanting, I couldn't do.
Okay.
So I had to go as light as possible. And before I flew out, I had my girl like really tone me basically around this tone I have now. And I was able to pass. The craziest thing. And honestly, I ended up loving it. Obviously, I'm the same color. So, but every time someone sees my picture, say Facebook or something, they're like, is she white? Is she not? I'm like, no, it's just, I'm Black. But it's the blonde hair that throws them off. So it's really interesting when I have gotten clients in my chair, they're like, oh, I felt like you knew what you're doing because the color of your hair. Why is that? Oh, well, I just figured that you knew how to take care of hair because your hair was healthy or your hair was blonde. And I just decided, and plus you're Black. Oh, so now you're just telling me how you judging not only myself, but how you perceive of what you're looking for. Then I always ask people, bring in pictures, because if they're mostly showing me one nationality, I already know what they're thinking. So to go back to your question with colorism, at the end of the day, everyone wants to be like somebody else because they feel like it's better. My Asians, when I had started doing so many Asian blondes, they were like, well, why? Because they wanted to look like the Caucasians. And then they also wanted the volume like the African Americans.
Oh, wow.
That's interesting. I didn't put it together like that before, that it's like, if you're able to do those comparisons between Kim Kardashian having braids and a Black person having blonde hair, it's like, maybe we are all trying to kind of find the best, something that you like from other cultures. And as opposed to, and maybe we can rethink it as opposed to it being appropriating.
Right.
Because I think to some level there is appropriation. I'm not going to, ever downplay that. But maybe kind of looking at it as maybe there's an admiration or an appreciation for just different looks across the board, not within a racial box, but just like, I was inspired by blonde. I went blonde, super blonde, platinum blonde. And my inspiration came more so from Gwen Stefani. I love Gwen Stefani's hair. It wasn't like I didn't feel good enough or my hair was, but I just thought her hair was so fly. It was so platinum. I want hair like that. It wasn't, and I don't know if maybe now, if I look back, it was rooted in something else. It didn't feel like it. It still doesn't feel like it, but maybe I need to explore. But I just really liked her hair. It was sometimes, I feel like sometimes can it be that simple?
Yes, it can be that simple.
Does it always have to be so deep?
There's a root for everything. There's a root for everything. Maybe you are a hairstylist deep down that just wants to just really come out and you just want to be platinum. That's okay. But there is a root for everything. And some people are just more colorful with their hair because they're more creative. And that's, so when I'm talking to kids, I'm like, well, why do you want blue hair? Oh, it makes me happy.
Can that be it? Can it be that simple?
Yeah. It can.
Literally, that's why I let my little Black daughter she has black hair. She's had black hair. She has blue hair. She's had pink hair. She's had purple hair. She says she wanted colors. I'm like, have all the colors, sis. What we doing next? And I would get excited because I wasn't allowed to have colorful hair. I was real holiness. Holy art thou holy. So I was not allowed to have colorful hair. So when my good sis was like, well, can I have blue hair? And she asked me I was going to fire off. And I was like, oh, no, let's go buy this. Which how blue?
And it's so, and I remember us talking about that, Alechia, and I love that you are like that because that was something my mom let me do. And my mom is old school, right? This is the generation before, but I had my first hair color in the 8th grade. It was the typical burgundy, fiery red. I was in the 8th grade and I remember it being such a thing with all my friends, like, your mama let you color your hair, girl? Like, you're grown. But it wasn't that. It was just I just really wanted it. I have a sister that's 7 years older than me. Obviously, at that point, she's coloring her hair. She's experimenting. It's like, well, I want to experiment. I want to do stuff too. So I love that you are allowing her to do that because I honestly always thank my mom for her promotion of self-expression for me.
Yes.
And I know that she wasn't I don't know where she learned it because she wasn't taught it, but she was really big on me being able to just kind of be myself and express myself. And hair color has still been, to this day, hair and hair color has still been a way for me to express my creative side because my mom did let me do it as a really young age and gave me a lot of confidence in feeling like I can rock anything. And I've been doing that my entire life. So I love that you're doing that because it really will impact her later. And it's something as simple as hair and hair color, but it really grows into something so much greater than herself.
I believe it too.
She'll thank you.
I think she's gonna be like, my mom allowed me to color myself, but I feel like you're also depositing so much power into her. And that's where, especially when we're talking about colorism, is how much power do you feel of your own culture, your own self?
Yeah.
Because now she's a little young woman. So now it's like, okay, does she feel liberated? Does she feel liberated because her hair is blue? Does she feel liberated because she feels liberated because she knows that she's unstoppable?
Yeah. And whatever, however, I don't care. And that's a challenge, honestly, because Danielle, I'm like your mother. I did not grow up being able to be free, but I'm doing things opposite. Girl, Like,
it's tough. It's tough, and it's hard to.
yeah.
It's something. There's something else too within what you said, Nycole. There's so much shame
Yes.
around hair and
Yes.
color, and
Yeah.
it's so important to remove that shame, because then that will make sure that you're making the decisions for the right reason.
Exactly.
Because how many like I remember I was getting my hair done a few months ago, and she was talking about, she had a client that was getting married, um, and the Black woman was marrying a white guy. And she said that it was the craziest thing. She was doing her hair for the wedding, and the guy, like in the middle of doing the hair, the guy like knocked on the door. I guess he wanted to like give her something or like do something, and she was like, "Oh my God, he can't see me. He can't see me with my natural hair." He had,
And y'all get married?
she was getting married to someone, and the person had never seen her without makeup and had never seen her actual hair. And she ran in the back and like had the somebody else hand her whatever was the transaction, had to be done by someone else, because she was so ashamed, and she would not let her soon to be husband see her actual hair texture. And he had also never seen her without makeup.
I'm not.
Well, I hope sis don't plan on having no children, because baby,
like what?
Postpartum get real rough.
Yes.
Like how deep is that shame that you feel like you're no longer lovable if your hair looks how it grows out your head?
Yes, but I've seen it countless times,
and I've been that where I don't necessarily want, like if you're used to seeing my hair one way, I'm like, okay, now my hair's gonna be different. How's he gonna feel? Like I think most Black women can have that kind of experience.
Because we'll be switching it up, okay?
Listen, we'll switch in a minute, but I feel like if you're switching, again, it goes back to the energy behind it.
Yeah.
If you're switching it because you just, you're multi-hyphenate when it comes to your hair, multi-hyphenate away, sis.
Yeah.
Do you live your best life? Have all the colors, all the designs, the styles, the kinky hair, the straight hair, the whatever, whoever, however. If you're just doing it because you're just a multi-hyphenate, if you're doing it because you legit loathe how your hair is, and I get it, I was that person.
I get it.
But if you plan on marrying somebody and taking them into a lifetime with you,
see everything, because
baby girl,
there's going to be a conversation, especially when Black Lives Matters came through. I had the conversations with women that was interracial. They're like, oh, well, now we're dialoguing to our children, and, the other race doesn't understand what we're going through. But you never had that conversation. Maybe that conversation could have came up when they did see your natural hair. That conversation, then you would have known what their mindset. Honestly, the lack of knowledge, people just don't know.
Right.
But if you're not embracing your texture and who you are, and that your significant other can appreciate the goddess that you are, then you can't have that conversation with them in your home.
Yeah. And then too, if you all have children, what happens to them? Are you going to teach your children to hate themselves as well?
Unfortunately, that's what ends up happening.
Like, what's that going to be? And then too, again, postpartum can be a bitch. Like, who finna be putting on makeup at 3:00 in the morning when the child need to eat, ma'am? So you're gonna put on a wig? So I just help make it make sense.
Some have, some definitely have. I'm like, you did what? And you're like, yeah, but the baby was crying, but I felt bad because Jimmy can't see me.
Fuck Jimmy and him not being able to see you. Girl, if you don't go to some therapy and figure out how to love you as is, there's nothing wrong with additions. I got on a wig myself. Nothing wrong with it.
Listen, there's nothing wrong. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. Enhancements. But if your mindset and you're not loving who you are, honey, baby, no one else is going to appreciate all of you.
They're not. And they can't, because you haven't shown them how to love all of you, because you don't love all of you yet. Yeah. Now, I'm not speaking ill on sis marriage, and I really do hope that she gets some therapy and she get real excited about who the fuck she is.
They need to see the grandmother.
I hope she figure it out. But it brings me to like a really, really important question. Like, do you feel like there's like an unspoken like beef between, you know, folks who have more textured hair than folks who you know, their texture it isn't as strong, like your Shahidi and your Halle Berrys, yes, I call it Halle Berrys, versus your Taraji P Henson and your Gabrielle Union? Like, do you feel like there's sometimes an unspoken beef there, not between those ladies, but between women who have hair textures, that fit within those buckets?
Yeah, like what we would call like mixed chicks, right? Like what is typically considered a mixed chick, the big curly, poofy, beautiful hair, or like the kinkier hair that has all that shrinkage, which sometimes is just as long, but that shrinkage is deceitful. Okay, the shrinkage lies on us. Okay, and then what a lot of people don't know is shrinkage, from what I understand, is actually not a bad thing. It can actually be a sign of healthy hair. Is that a true thing?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, but I think sometimes, like, I'm going to be really honest and candid. I know Alechia and I have had this conversation. I have definitely had moments growing up in Miami. You see a lot of variation of Black, right? Also being a Jamaican, there's a lot of variation of Black where it comes to hair texture, skin color. And it's always been, it's not a struggle, is not the right word, but it's always been something. I don't know what to define it as, with girls that have the big, poofy, curly hair, that there's definitely been some insecurity around. Dating men that have told me that I'm like the blackest chick they've dated.
And if you say that to me, don't worry, we ain't dating no more.
I mean, they said it a little bit further into the situation when they got comfortable.
Now you're all in love.
Now they're like, I usually date like mixed chicks with the long curly hair. Like, you're typically as like Black as I'll go. And I'm like, well, okay. Or, you know, so like I said, in Miami, in Jamaican culture, in island culture, there's all these different mixes of hair and textures. And sometimes you're the girl with the kinkier hair and your cousin has the long, curly, flowy hair, and that person may get more attention. Or you realize that guys tend to be more attracted to the mixed chick, and they tend to get more. I mean, even in Hollywood, there have been conversations around like the lighter skinned girls with the looser curled hair tend to get more roles, or tend to be seen as the vixen, or tend to be casted as the wife. And then the darker skinned person with kinkier hair, because I think we're thinking it's just about skin complexion, but it's not just about skin complexion, because the darker skinned person with longer curly hair gets treated differently than the darker skinned person with kinky hair. So there's levels. There's levels to the colorism and the racism and that skin complexion. It goes into your hair texture as well. So do you feel like there is that beef, like Alicia's asking?
It really is.
I think it's there. I feel it.
It's honestly, it is. Especially because I'm on both ends of the spectrum as a celebrity hairstylist, and then an editorial hairstylist, and then a salon hairstylist. I'm a whole lot, and then I'm a product developer. But
multi-hyphenate. Okay.
Multi-hyphenate. Okay.
I'm going to be the next Rihanna. I'm a billionaire. No.
Yes, don't say no. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to come into agreement with you. There
we don't say no. We can have all the things, and we can also have peace.
Yes.
We can have all the things.
We can have it all. You know, say for instance, unfortunately, I work with the high-end brands for luxury, you know, handbags or whatever. I have to help create the mood board, and I have to pick out the models. I have to go to the agencies, and they have, like, I have to have that eye. Unfortunately, how is their hair texture? How is it going to do? And how is it going to print? That, because I also already feel like, say, if I'm doing a fashion week, guess what? The designer is looking, how is their hair? Since the Black Lives Matter has hit, now they are embracing the natural. So they're looking for the natural curly girl. But guess what? We went through all these years where they didn't want the natural curly girl. So guess what? The models were over there relaxing their hair. They were putting in extensions. I need to look like, you know, somebody, another race, to be able to have the casting call of my dreams. Now, here we are. We go into regular mom and life or non-moms, they're like, you know what? I just opened up the magazine. My hair is tightly curled. I, but my best friend, she's always getting all these dates and her hair is straight.
That's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It's a real thing because, and another part of it is also whenever we see like, I was watching TV and there was all these commercials, and every commercial, the token black girl was a black girl with big poofy curly hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, why is that the only like idea of attractive black person that's good enough to be on television?
Like it's supposed to allow you to identify. Think about it. If there's a bird,
that's not the only type of black person.
If somebody else that's directing it, that's the only thing that they can go off of.
Now, if and it pours gasoline on that beef between, because and something else. I've been watching a lot of TV lately. I'm going through something, but I was watching.
It's postpartum. It's okay.
Yeah, there's this show I'm watching, and the girl is obviously a biracial woman, right? It doesn't look like she knows. I think she said in the thing she doesn't know her mother. She was raised by her aunt, but she's like super fair, looser curls, with the baby hairs, all the things. And she said that she grew up really guarded because she would get made fun of a lot and she would get bullied a lot. And I said to my fiance, I was like, babe, I know that girl. Like, I remember I befriended that girl in school, right? I came to school. She was a new girl. She was light skinned. She had looser curls in her hair, beautiful girl. All the boys liked her, and all my friends were like, why are you friends with her? She thinks she's all that. And we don't
It
talk
has
about
nothing to do with her. It's
on the other side that people that look like that also get bullied and also get treated badly. And just about every biracial person has that story. Halle Berry, Carrie, they're all like, I didn't know where to identify because I was too black I wasn't black enough for the black people, and I wasn't white enough for the white people.
Yeah, like that girl, they did that video with, and I think too, like this whole hair conversation, it has to include men, because there was a video on Instagram with these little young boys walking past girls, which first of all, I pray that my daughter denounces any type of stupidity like that and will not be willing to participate in the foolery. But I digress. They were walking past the girls, rating them as to whether or not they would date them. And so they got to a darker skinned girl who, when I tell you this girl was so darn fine, like if sis could get it, she was beautiful, beautiful. And he's like, oh no, you too dark. First of all, y'all the same complexion. I think that's what killed it for me, is they were the same.
And his mama was probably that complexion too.
I was going to say,
like, you guys are the same complexion. What do you mean you're telling her, oh, she's too dark? And then the guys, of course, they're laughing and acting a fool. Oh, and it's like, why would you want to make her feel bad? Literally, you have no control over how you come out of the womb. There isn't a color picker that you get to, this ain't paint.
But it goes back to what I said. The foundation is in the home.
It's in the home.
Honestly, or how you feel about yourself. If you spoon feed and that little one is saying, you know what? Jasmine's hair is more beautiful. Oh, Jasmine's hair is so long. Guess what? Now Emily is having a problem with her hair because all she heard was Jasmine's hair was more beautiful.
And being compared. And you said we needed to bring men into this conversation. So I told my partner that we were having this conversation. So I asked him, and I think most Miami men have dated across the spectrum if they've dated.
Because Miami is
there's so much. This is a melting pot, right? This is a real melting pot in America. So I was like, what is it about, women that have like the longer hair or the looser curls, or black men, really being drawn to the Hispanic women that are not Afro Hispanics. They have like looser curls or whatever, right? And I was just like, what do you think that is? Like, what's your take on it? And he was just like, honestly, when we grow up and we see you guys straightening your hair and we see y'all putting in weaves, then it kind of sends the message that you don't like your hair. He's like, so if you don't like it, why should I?
Yes.
Ooh. And I was like,
Well, damn.
That's a perspective, right? Where we all have to take responsibility. He's just like, yo, if I grow up and I just see my mom covering her hair with a wig or doing all these things and trying to look like that other thing that I'm now attracted to, because that's what all the Black women are trying to look like. He's just like, what am I supposed, like, how do I know what's better? And then he's like, and I was like, I do understand that. And I definitely think if we loved our hair more, then they would be forced to love it too, because that's what they would be getting.
Listen, people treat you how you, Lord. So my father, he's learning to love himself. And my sister and I, we look like polar opposites. People do not believe we're sisters. We have different last names, although we have the same mother and father. But I kept my ex-husband's last name because shit, like Tina Turner, bitch, I worked for that. Like, whew.
Listen.
So, it was a lot. Listen, I felt like Tina Turner and that bitch. Like, okay. So I worked for that one. And plus I had built my brand around it. I'm about to take back east. I got to start all over. Fuck that.
You're in the same boat.
Listen. So my sister and I, we look very different, right? She has huge boobs. I have, they're on the struggle bus, team itty bitty titty committee. Like, it's just, we're different. She's darker skinned. She's shorter. She's thick, like just beautiful girl. But because she looks like my dad and I look like my mom, and my dad, you can tell like he doesn't love himself. So he would respond to us, because my sister dates a whole hell of a lot more than me. I mean, just like a whole hell of a lot more.
And more across the spectrum than you.
And more across the spectrum. She dates the United Nation. It's something about Black men that I just.
She has options. I always say
this has all the options.
She does.
I love milk chocolate. It just do something to my spirit. So with my sister, she would always be going on dates, going out. When my dad was living with us, he'd say little comments like, "Oh, you going on a date? Oh, you wearing that? Oh, he's sending car service." Because my sister requires that the men who take her on dates, that they send car service. And they all send car service. She requires that they bring flowers or send flowers before the date.
Okay, good.
People treat you how you require or how you expect. So if you get excited about your hair, about who you are, and you proudly and boldly wear it, like, hey, what's up? Hello. You walk into that bitch with your natural hair out live and live in color. People will gravitate to you because it is an energy.
I don't care. It is as across the spectrum.
Confidence. It's about confidence.
If you walk into that room confident, they want to know who is that person. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be our higher selves. We're always looking for that next, how can I be better? So if it's religion, if it's how we look, if it's a celebrity, whatever it is, people are looking and searching to be better. So you walk in that room confident because your hair is laid, however it is, curly, not curly, or the shoes are just to the gods, honey. Listen, people want to know, how can I just actually had a text message from somebody yesterday. They were like, how you stay so positive and always so happy? I said, because I try to stay grounded. I embrace whatever is the now. So if my hair is not doing right because my hair is shit, I just had a baby, it is what it is. Thank God I'm a hairstylist. I can do whatever. But guess what? Not everyone has the same options as I. So if I can help uplift another woman, say, you know what, no matter what, you're beautiful. We all going through the same thing as women. We're all trying to figure out, hey, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 20, my hair is changing. What can I do? There's always an option to make sure that we feel your best self. So we make sure that no matter what age or where we're at, that you can feel your best self. It's not about where we came from. It's about what we're trying to show now, how we can better the next generation. Here, all three of us, we've been saying the same thing. We're changing the narratives of how we've been raised. Now, except for Miss Colorful over here, of making sure that the next generation, they know, hey, you're beautiful no matter how your hair is. Now they're not going to be afraid of, you know what? I can do whatever I can to my hair because it's not going to change who I am internally. It's not going to change. It's going to change the outside, but it's not going to change who I am. So, sister, I'm all for the white tablecloth linens. Listen, make sure that no matter what we're doing it with some type of positivity. Unfortunately,
Intention.
we have the media, we have the celebrities, we have all of this where these young people are looking and they're thinking, you know what, they have the best life because this is how it looks. But if we can start having those conversations and saying, you know what, they're having the same struggles, then it changes the perspective. But no one's talking about the same struggles because I hear it when I'm doing the hair of the celebrities or somebody. We're all having the same crises, but no one's talking about it.
Yeah. And I want to show our highlight reels.
No.
Yeah.
So we have to start changing. I can't say that enough. We've got to start changing the narrative of the why. Why?
Yeah.
We have to embrace and love where we're at. And changing it, you know? So,
and I think, and something I wanted to kind of switch gears with when you're talking about the narrative. Again, you know, Alechia was saying, I love a good statistic. So so apparently the Black hair industry is valued at $2.5 billion a year. And that doesn't include wigs. No. And anybody who's ever bought a wig or uses that knows that that's going to add another billion.
That's going to add.
Listen, because this one was, I think, like $375 on my head. You know?
And it doesn't include electric products. So it doesn't include curling irons and flat irons. So let's just double that number automatically off.
I should say triple.
Yeah, because, you know, but the majority of our products are being shipped from India and China. So the ownership within the hair industry that we are the greatest. I mean, we consume hair products at an alarming level because of all the things we've already talked about. So you as a product developer and as the owner of your own hair perfume, Yara Luxe, why do you feel like it's important for us to have more of a stake in the hair industry, you know, to maybe help change that narrative?
Honestly, and I do classes on this, is don't develop a product to feed what's already out there. Develop a product is a need to better oneself. To change it is to help, like Carol's daughter. Listen, I'm all for it because she saw that there was a need of a natural hair care that needed to open up. Guess what? People start thinking what was in their ingredients.
Right, with better quality products.
She changed it without actually speaking about it. So the question is, how can we change what we've been taught that is not good, but it is good, was how can we change with a product? So with me having stake, I developed a hair perfume. Now there's hair perfumes on the market, but is there organic hair perfumes? Why did I develop a hair perfume? Is because I start seeing that, you know what? It made the woman feel confident. It made the woman say, you know what? I'm about to walk into that boardroom and I'm going to kill it, because it's mostly men. In the boardroom, I saw the mom say, you know what? I'm about to give my husband a whirl, because they felt confident. So with me developing that was, they didn't want to, you know, my African Americans, they're like, you know what? When I was at home, my hair kind of smelled a little fried. Spray some Yara Luxe. It, you know,
it changes the game.
Right?
Right. Or for cooking. Like for me, what I love about it, and I use it, is I cook a lot. And when you're cooking, if you're cooking fish, if you're cooking something, and sometimes you're going to cook and you got to run out, right? And there's, even if you shower, there's not always a way to take the smell out of your hair. No matter, you know, so I would like, so now I just like will spray the hair perfume. And another thing too is if your hair is like in need of a wash in a couple of days.
Like mine underneath this good wig.
And I'm a cuddler, and so is my partner. So it's like he's all up under me and my hair might be out. And I'll like spray, you know, after the shower, I'll spray a little something on it. So that's another reason. And then the other reason I started using it more is because after having a baby, they're all on your neck. Yes. And I didn't want her like slobbing on my neck and tasting like horrible perfume. Most perfumes are toxic as hell.
Yeah. So I
stopped wearing perfume.
Your hair out. So that's the thing of, I wanted to change, because what people didn't understand was, they're saying, I don't want to spend this money on hair perfume because it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. Well, water is not the same thing. It has the alcohol. So you're drying out your hair. So if you are naturally curly, is worse. If you are straight, it's worse because that alcohol base is drying out your hair. Then you're going to put heat on it, or you're going to go into the environment. Guess what? Now your hair has gone through a whole frenzy. You don't know that alcohol just did a whole number on your hair. So when I developed, I wanted women or people, because men, I'm in line for their beard is coming out. I wanted people to, I wanted them to change how they thought when they went out. And it starts sometimes for women with their hair, with their makeup. Some people are not into makeup, but they're thinking about their hair. If it's short, if it's long, they're thinking about that. I wanted them to start to be programmed without me really saying it of, you know what, I'm going to have a great day. Yes, they feel confident. When have you gotten your makeup done, your hair done? You're like, you know what? Yes,
this is kind of fun.
It just, I'm a whole new person. It really messes with me mentally. Like if my hair is not done, I am not a happy camper. And if my hair is done and I don't like how it's done, like Nycole knows that I'm like texting her like, I am unhappy. I feel ugly. I feel crazy.
And then I'm like, so what's going on right now?
Like I need my hair done. It's a thing. It's like it's a part of. I feel like you look good, you feel good. You look good, you feel good.
So when you're developing or you're creating a product, and I tell people this, and I tell them like, listen, you can start your own business. I give all the cues for free 99, honey. Is change the narrative. If it's going to uplift somebody, then do it with passion. But yet again, people do develop stuff because it's already out there. Listen, who cares? The biggest thing is develop something and keep it in your family, keep it in, we have the hair grease. That was such a big phenomenon for a long time. The hot combs, everything. Guess what? That was family was wealth. So when you develop something, develop that, hey, you can eventually sell it. Unfortunately, knock on wood, companies do buy you out. It's okay. Develop something else because there's always
or if they buy you out, there are ways to be bought out and also remain on the board or remain as a creative.
Absolutely. There are multiple ways.
There are ways to sell, because I think what happens is when we have ownership, then, and it's just like in the arts or in television, when a Black person is telling a Black person's story, there's more accuracy. And I think it's the same thing. If a Black person is developing the hair product, then they're going to be more intentional. It's going to be more effective in a different way, because it's like, no, I really understand what it was like to press my hair out at 8 years old. I really, if an 8-year-old is going to cry about their hair, like what can we do? What product can we maybe give? What can we do to make her hair more manageable, but it doesn't have to be straight? Like, how can we really develop products that uplift the community, like you said, but also are effective?
And you have to do your research. You have to put yourself in people's shoes and do your research. And thank God that we do have the internet. We live in a world that now we have the internet. We can do our research. Back in the day, we didn't have all of this. So
and it makes a difference for sure.
Figure it out. Door to door, we can go, if we're trying to develop anything, we can find out internet or putting yourself in that situation, that store, to see, okay, how can I continue to go along with this idea? And I always say start small and then start going big. Start with one. If it's a shampoo, start with one shampoo, then build into a conditioner. Give the people what they need, not what's already out there.
Yeah, so and I think that makes such a difference, as far as now so many people have access to you as a Black developer, a Black person that's doing something. It's not so hard to get your stuff out there. You just put it on Instagram and all of a sudden
Pinterest.
Look at people who make wigs now. And remember, wigs always had that white scalp. So Black people be walking around with this wig, with this scalp that doesn't make any sense at all. Because it's like, okay, that's not your complexion. Now there are dyes to dye the base of the scalp so that it looks more natural. And that's Black people that develop those things. So it's like, I love that. That's such a good point, how the internet helps us to support one another if we really use it as the tool that it's supposed to be.
Which is giving us more power. And that's what I love, especially in the African American community. As women, I can't talk for a man. As women, we are actually developing, we are creating, and we're becoming bosses. And that's why for me, I could only be in a hairstylist realm sometimes, even though I have to switch I've worked for the Redkins. I've worked for the Kinky Curls. I've worked and helped. I have products on the market where I am the token Black woman to know, what does the people really want?
Yeah.
Now it's a catch-22 because I may be in a room full of, non-Black people, and I'm telling them what the people need. Where I'm back in my mind, I'm like, I could just do this, but do I really want to put the energy, or do I want to feed somebody else and say, you know what, you have this dream, I have the knowledge, here, you roll with it. I feel like we need to connect, as it's not so much, oh, you're taking money off of me. No, let's help each other and build the community. One of my friends just came out with his own flat irons. Listen, there's a billion flat irons. I don't care. You created something and people are going to buy into him. People buy into you.
Yeah. I always tell people, anytime you feel like, oh, somebody's already has this on the market, somebody does this, somebody does that, go to, depending on what type of person you are, go to Sephora, or if you don't like makeup, go to the bread aisle.
I was going to say, go to the bread aisle. Yes.
It's 5011 breads, all the breads for all the types of people who like certain breads. Like you can still create. Who would have thought that Rihanna, Umbrella Allah would come out with a makeup, a lingerie line, and it would make her a whole billionaire? We have to start thinking in very, very broad terms. Think in best case scenario. Everyone's like, oh, well, prepare for the worst. Bullshit. Don't tell them to prepare for the worst. I need you to think in the biggest, broadest, most expansive type of mentality. Think of what happens if it's a success. What does that look like? Prepare for your big break. Prepare for your big goals. Prepare for the shit that was unimaginable for our ancestors, because if they were caught reading, hands would be cut off, eyes would be plucked out. Prepare for the big shit. We've already played small for way too many generations. Ain't nobody got time for that no more.
Girl, come on now.
I want you to think big, think big, think bold, think expansive. Think of, this is what could potentially happen, because playing small, who the fuck got time for that? No.
And that's why
not being afraid. Not being afraid of saturated markets. Okay. The good thing about markets have niches, and that means that you can market to that. There are 7 billion people in the world. Like, is there really such a thing as something saturated? Like, it's so hard to saturate.
Not really, because there are other countries. Just because you live in the US,
way that you can do it, that can make it like how Nycole said, people buy into you. And the best superpower you have is that you are you. And there's nobody else that's like you. So you get to put your own twist on stuff. Maybe his flat iron is gonna do something different than another flat iron. Like, there's so many different ways to kind of reinvent the wheel in different ways that's more functional and more effective.
Why I'm like, here, just whatever you're gonna do it with love, do it with passion. Change it. Yes, we all want to make money. Listen, money will always,
and you will.
Money will always keep going. But the question is, can you change the outlook? If it is hair products, can you change it to become better? Can you change it to make sure that people feel their higher selves? That's how I think personally. And
I agree. I agree with you completely. But now I do have a question for you, though.
Yes.
So what do you think, or what are some of the like major myths? Because now you got the inside look, right? You got the inside track on this thing, right? So what are some of like the myths like about Black hair that you would like to dispel? Like some of the biggest myths?
It's difficult. I really would love to change that. It's not. I feel like, and that's why I don't like when people see this 4C, 1A, and all this fun stuff. And they're always looking at me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. No. Hair comes in textures, like I said, not nationality. If we all understood how to work with our own hair, or as a hairstylist or stylist, if you understand how to work with the textures, then you're not saying it's difficult if you understood. You can't say, oh, it's just difficult to read. No, you have to put some practice into it. Oh, it's difficult to do. You have to put some practice. Anything that we do, we have to put some practice into. So if you're not actually trying to understand how to work with your hair, or if the hairstylist is not, working with other textures of hair, you can't say, or I would say, you shouldn't say it's difficult unless you keep trying. Unfortunately, in cosmetology, they tap onto the texture a little bit. But honestly, the real school is when you come out. put yourself in an uncomfortable position to make sure that your hair can look whatever or however you're doing. I honestly, the woman that did my hair, she's Caucasian. And people were like, you let her do your hair? Yes, because she understood texture.
I like that.
So that myth about like, oh, if your hair is this texture, then this is all it can do, or this is all the color it can get. Like, I know something my former hairstylist would always say, like, one of the biggest myths is that because your hair is coarse, that means it's stronger.
It's actually the other way.
It's actually, she would always say, like, that's not true. It's actually more delicate. And, as a kid, there was all this pulling and yanking and tugging. And it was like
brutalizing.
And it's just like, oh, because we got strong hair. And it's just like, no, our hair is actually more delicate.
It's more delicate.
And it needs more like of a delicate approach to handle it.
So I always took that with me. It goes into, you got to speak life, you got to speak love, because our hair is more delicate. And a lot of people say, oh, I can't do hair color. Yes, you can, but you have to go to the right person that understands your texture. So yes,
black girls can be blonde too. You can have 4C, whatever hair, and you can be blonde, because I've been platinum blonde a few times in my life without my hair falling out, without my hair being compromised, because I went to a stylist who understood. Yeah,
you had a great hairstylist that knew how to do hair color, and you had great hair care. You was equipped with knowing how to take care of your hair at that moment.
Yeah, it's super important.
That's all it is. And that's why I tell people, stay off YouTube University. YouTube has its place. I love it. Yes. But go to somebody that understands hair care. So once you understand hair care, then you understand, you know what? I can do, textured hair. There was somebody on Instagram, honestly, it was a white brother, Caucasian. He's slaying these African-American hair texture. And they're like, oh, how dare he? No, I give them
so much. I love it. I always say that.
I like that.
A lot of Caucasians and Spanish hairstylists can't do other textures of hair. And I'm just like, how much money are you missing out on? Do you know how much money?
You know how much money we spend? Oh, hell.
Like, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah, that's a whole untapped market.
Yeah, he specialized in braiding. And honestly, he found his love, he found his passion, and he's not twisted it into like, oh yes, this is who I am. No, he found a respect.
That's what he loved to do.
He found the respect for the culture, for the texture. He loved it. Listen, he did his education. I'm all here for it. Do your education. If you want to be comfortable, be uncomfortable first. Being uncomfortable does not mean that you can't be like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. No, I tell my clients, take that out. You can. You can. With the right blow dryer, the right flat iron, whatever, the right tools, you can. Yeah. The key thing is, okay, how can I become better?
That's the biggest thing. Like, how do you become better? What does better look like for you? And being willing to commit to that.
Yes.
But I do love that as far as like the biggest myth, because I too was informed, like, our hair is so much stronger, and it's like, no. And honestly, in the beginning, because I'm definitely not a perfect parent. In the beginning, I would like struggle with my daughter's hair because it wouldn't grow. It wouldn't do all these things. And I was just like, maybe it's me. I think it's me. And so when I started changing, like I have pictures of where she started to where she is now, because her hair is in the middle of her back now. But when me and this good sis started, we was having troubles. But it was me. I had to learn. And so I would be doing my research on, okay, with her type of hair, how do I help it to grow? How do I, give it the nutrients that it needed, because it was so dry. It needed some hydration. What did it look like? Because, many hairstylists, they don't like kids to be in their chair, and that's okay. It just meant me as her mom, I had to figure it out. Kids didn't ask to be here. So that whole, well, I don't know, figure it out.
Yes.
And then one more myth is that there's this TikTok thing going around now where there was like this white girl that had her hair in like a bun, and then she lets her hair down and her hair is super long. And then there was this something going on I don't have a TikTok, but they were saying something about how, Black girls wouldn't be able to do this challenge. So then there was this other video with like Black girls had really long hair, no extensions, no weave. So that's a myth that I would just personally like to dispel, is that Black women do have long hair naturally. We all don't need to wear weaves.
No.
Our hair grows just as long as anybody else's if we properly take care of it. There's been a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot of manipulation around Black hair products. I mean, it's even been to the point where like they've done comparison between the quality of ingredients in Black hair products compared to products for Caucasian hair, and how damaging it is, and how there's been shoe polish put in pants, like the same thing that makes the shoes shiny for shoe polish is the same thing that's in Pantene.
Yes.
What? I mean, I don't use Pantene, but oh my goodness.
But I'm just saying, but it's the one specifically for Black hair. Like they had like a line that came out. I used to use it back in college. That was specifically for Black hair. And when they broke the ingredients down, it was shoe polish.
Yes. And I've had people, and it was funny because I've had people say, "Oh, Nycole, I just washed my hair and my hair is in my pillow." I said, "Well, you using Pantene? How did you know? You know everything." Well, when I do my research on, because I'm like the hair god. I know people are going to go after this product because it's cheaper. So let me know. So yes, it's true. It's true.
You know what's crazy?
You don't even know
if it was
sabotage. We get sabotaged in a lot of different ways, and hair is one of them.
Yeah.
If it was a cheap product, I would intentionally not get it. I need to spend some real money because, again, I treat my hair like it's a Bentley. I treat it like it's a Bentley. A Bentley, you cannot go to a regular, auto body shop. And a reason I talk about Bentley so much because that's going to be my next car. I'm just letting y'all know in advance after I buy this investment property.
I'm in agreement.
That's why I got to keep pulling it into my universe. So for me, I treat it like it's a Bentley. I wouldn't shoot even the Benz. I don't just take that to a regular body. No. We're going to the dealership. You know why? Because if the dealership mess up anything, they're going to take care of it. But this good Bentley, okay, that's coming next after I, fix my stuff. And we're going to talk about money on another episode. Y'all just wait for that one because that one's going to be a big one. But for me, I want to spend some good money on my hair because just like a Bentley, I can't go to, and this is not any hit against, Tires Plus or Auto Kingdom or any of those. You can't just take a Bentley there because there are specialty parts and products that you need. Same thing for your hair. It's okay to make it's an investment.
It is. And that's what I tell, and I am I'm very pricey. I'm very pricey. I would have to say that.
As well. It's called an excellence tax.
Sure is. But I tell people you pay me to keep hair on your head. And that means if you're going to make that investment in hair color, hair extensions or whatever, I need to know, because this is a relationship, it's a commitment that you're going to do it. I won't do a color if you're not going to spend the money on the products that
taking care of it.
And people are like, well, how can you? Well, I still have all these products I want to get rid of.
Throw them out. That's what she makes me do.
That's how you get rid of them. You put them in trash.
She done made me throw out flat iron, shampoo, and I'm really good with. I think I do pretty good with taking care of my own hair. Yeah, and I try to use the best products. Like whatever my hairstylist uses, I just go out and I buy it, and I just use that because I'm like, well, she uses it, she must know something, so I'm gonna go
know something I don't know. Let me get it.
But I mean, it's important to just let it. It's the same thing that I have to tell my clients when it comes on to food. Like they're like, oh, I'm like, oh, you can't eat this anymore. And then they'll be like, I'm like, okay, look, you just got to throw it out. And they're like,
I put it in the trash.
I spent all this money. I'm just like, no, but we have to replace, we have to substitute. And that means you're going to have to remove so that better and greater things can come into your life.
Oh, your crown, your mind, and everything right. Everything just flows. And that's where we are at in life right now.
From the head down. Yeah, that's powerful. That's really cool.
You have to just flow into that positive energy. You see right over this Bentley. I'm over here. Listen. So guess what? You're going to have to use the right hair products. You have to have the right mindset to keep it working because we can manifest anything. But
absolutely.
but we have to connect with ourselves and make sure we buy the right stuff to go in our bodies and outside our bodies.
Yes, in and on. What are we buying the right stuff? In and on, in and on. And it's
having
okay.
the right mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay to feel like you are good enough to spend, a little bit more to make sure you're doing what's best for you.
Yes.
So yes, I prefer to buy organic. You want to know why? Because American foods got people sick as hell. And all organic isn't made equal. Yeah. It's not made equal.
No.
Yeah, you have to read the ingredients. No, I love this. And thank you so much, Nycole, for coming on. Before you leave us, a couple things is, do you have any like hair tips you could share with assistants? We always do some hair tips. Give us some hair tips.
I would probably say a lot of people don't know this. One, buy the right shampoo and conditioner. But when you wash your hair, good 2 washes, warm water.
Okay.
And then when you're rinsing out your conditioner, use cold water
to seal
in the moisture,
cuticle.
To seal it in the hydration. Warm water opens up the cuticle. That could be universal for all hair types. Opens up the hair cuticle. So any dirt, any products, it will actually wash out. 2 shampoos. The conditioner, let it sit for a few minutes. When you rinse it out, use cool water. Trust me, it's about to change all y'all's lives. So you do a nice trim every 2 to 3 months, a dusting, a haircut. And trust me, your hair will start to flourish. If that's growing outwards, downwards, embrace it all. And that's from the glam.
Hello. Oh, and something else she taught me, especially for those of us that wear extensions or we like to wear our hair straight. And I didn't know this because I used to have a lot of issues where I would get a lot of breakage from heat damage. Yeah. Right. Like my hair was really healthy and it would grow, but for some reason it would get to a certain point in the heat damage. So, and I've had other hairstyles, but she was more specific with the temperature. Yes. So whenever I've already had your wash and you may need to go back through and maybe hit these edges again in the week after your hair is done, you need to hit these roots after this Florida humidity strikes, because that's what it does. It strikes and attacks and abuses. Right. After this Florida humidity destroys your hair, or maybe you exercise and work out like I do, and your hair starts to revert back because I don't have a relaxer. She taught me that when you're going back through your hair to use a lower temperature on your flat iron or curling iron. I think you said it was like 300 degrees.
300, 350. I normally say try 300 because the majority of the time your hair doesn't really need a lot of heat.
And it makes a difference with how much heat you're putting. Because then at that point, it's not just the heat, it's the heat and the sweat and the dirt and all the things being pressed into your hair.
And your hair goes into shock, honestly. So try that 300. If you are working out, the key thing is put your hair on a nice tight.
Oh, we need this. Hold on, wait. Everybody that listening, if we've lost you because it's been over an hour.
About right here, and then tie it and work out, put a headband. One of my favorite is a gym wrap. I love a gym wrap.
Well, say this again. I feel like we missed it. Say it one more time. Do what
gym
now?
Wrap. Gym wrap. That's what it's actually by.
No, start over. Start over from the beginning. Because I was telling everybody they need to tune in.
So if your hair is blown out or if it's straight, you have some nice curls, whatever. Put your hair in a nice ponytail midway. And make sure that it's nice and taut, taut meaning that the edges, your hair straight is still straight. Then you want to put a nice little scarf, a headband on your hair, and then work out. The key thing is make sure that your body is at a full cool down. When you know that your body is at a full cool down, that's when you take that ponytail out. So the hair reverts back if it's not tight or if it's not stretched. So the hair is going to start to revert back. So a lot of people think they need a chemical service when you actually don't. And Missy knows the difference because she has gotten her hair done. Her hair is still straight after a couple.
It is. And I live in Florida and the humidity is real. That has it. I mean, it's those little things because how many, and maybe we could talk about this in another episode because we got to wrap it up. I know we're probably losing like half of y'all. It's been over an hour, y'all. Attention span is like, okay, y'all. But this is so important that a lot of Black women don't work out because they're afraid of messing up their hair.
Yes. But knowledge is power.
And how important is it now? It's like, and she taught me that where she was just like, yo, pull your hair back. Put it up. Don't take, and it's made so much. I do it, y'all, and it works, and it's a difference. So
and for some of the people, they may have to rush and go to work. Fine, take your blow dryer first. use a nice paddle brush and use medium heat and brush your hair down. And as you're brushing your hair down, it's going to actually go back into a straight because now the hair has memory.
Well, okay then, to the memories. Where can we stay connected? Where can we find you? Let the people know.
Oh, you can find me at NycoleJones.com. And what a little twist that nobody like unless they really know me is Nycole is spelled with a Y. So it's NYCOLE. Doesn't make sense, but you always remember me. NycoleJones.com. And there's also, if you want to try out Yara Luxe, yaralux.com, you will get your nice, wonderful, delicious hair perfume. And it stays in your hair for at least 5 to 7 days with 1 or 2 sprays.
Ew, yes.
And what's your Instagram?
Instagram, Hair by Nycole. You can definitely find me. I drop tips, gems, and if you have any questions, slide in my DM. I always answer.
Okay, to the DMs. Yeah, I love it. Listen, this episode was so good. I know it's a little longer than what we normally have, but you needed all of this, okay? You needed every bit. But make sure you check us out. Super excited. Y'all have been rocking with us. In under 8 months, we have hit over 10,000 downloads. So continue to share this so that other members can join our Trigger Happy family. Yes. We are so grateful to you. And I cannot wait to see y'all. Well, actually, technically, I can't wait for y'all to hear us, and you can see us right now on YouTube next week. See you.
Bye. Love and light.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Triggered AF. Remember, don't be consumed by your triggers. Confront it and then work to release it. Whether you leave us more triggered than you came or you're feeling like you've been open to a new perspective, our hope is that you've grown. Make sure to share this episode with a friend who's trigger happy and tag us while you're listening. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next week, pull it together, girl.